Monday morning a shooting by a Creola officer. And so we sent our detectives, our crime scene personnel to the scene and began an investigation of an officer-involved shooting involving a Sergeant Don Tuberville of the Creola Police Department. The detectives interviewed Sergeant Tuberville. They also interviewed responding officers, and they also interviewed a civilian witness that had arrived on the scene within about a minute and a half of the purported shooting. They evaluated the physical evidence on the scene. They recovered one single shell casing. They observed the fractured glass in the driver's door, and with video footage that was captured by the responding officers of the sergeant as he laid beside his vehicle. Upon questioning Sergeant Tuberville of many of the facts of the incident, the detectives felt like there were a number of inconsistencies with what he was stating to the investigators. This involved matters of timing, matters of location of the spent shell casing, the manner in which he was positioned on the ground, the lack of a consistent description of the purported suspect that was only described as a person with a white beard, unknown race, unknown age, or any other attributes. The fact that his blue lights were not on his car at the time the responding officers and the civilian arrived on the scene. Within a minute and a half, the civilian did. In fact, the civilian arrived on the scene while he was still reporting the incident by radio to his dispatch. Well, for these and a number of other reasons, after questioning him at the hospital that day and again this morning, with determining still what we felt, the investigators felt were inconsistencies, did not feel like what he was telling us was an accurate description of what may have occurred that morning. With that in mind, they then offered Sergeant Tuberville the opportunity to take a polygraph examination, to which he flatly declined to take under no uncertain terms and with no reasonings why he would not take it. We indicated to him that, we didn't believe what he was stating, and at this point in time we were going to close this investigation as to any kind of criminal matter, and quite honestly we do not believe there is a purported shooter out there. I have been in communication with Mayor of Creola and the Chief of Police of Creola, and we also did inform Sergeant Tuberville that his Chief of Police in an internal matter could direct him to take a polygraph examination. And I did make available to the Chief and to the Mayor there that we would make our polygraph examiner available at no cost to them for their internal investigation, which would not be a criminal matter, but would be a matter in which they could bring about disciplinary action if they so choose. We have not made this conclusion lightly, but without trepidation. It's sad for us to report something like this when 2 days previous, I think, the Mobile police officer was shot. We've had other officers shot. The public is very supportive of us and rallies to our aid, but it disappoints us when we believe someone may in fact misstate the facts or something and misleading to us. We expended some 69 man hours, mostly overtime and holiday time, by our detectives investigating this. Hours that either they could have spent with their families on the holiday, or hours that they could have spent preparing for murder cases they have to go to next week. We do say that we investigate these things openly and report just the facts. And I wish I could tell you something differently, but at the same time, I am happy that there's not someone else out there, in our opinion, that is taking target practice at the police for a simple traffic stop. I can take a few questions, and I don't know how forthcoming I can give you with details more than that, but I'll be happy to try to entertain you.
So just to clarify, he's still employed within the department, correct?
He is still employed with the Creola Police Department.
Yes.
I did speak to the mayor this afternoon, and he did tell me that he would not be working or in uniform and working anymore after today. Now, I don't know what that means, and I can't put any more words in his mouth of what he told me, but we will turn our investigation, as we've completing it, to them, and it can be used in an internal investigation, but it can't, or the internal investigation can't bring about criminal charges.
Do you think that he discharged his gun might have been an accident, and that the story could have been some sort of cover-up for that accident? Like, do we have any, what we're leaning towards at this time, any explanation for this?
You know, we've got a number of theories, but we can't prove them, so it's probably best that we not throw them out there, other than to say that the spent shell casing of his weapon was some 15 feet in front of the car door window that was shot out, and he had advised us that he was, once he stepped out of the car, he fell to the ground and he never moved again since then. We also know that he claims that he fired a shot under the door, which there was no record of the bullet striking the concrete, and it would almost had to have struck the concrete rather than the vehicle fleeing. He stated that he thought it might have hit the car, might have heard the bullet hit the car. That's not consistent with real life facts. And he stated that he saw the vehicle make a right at the road way down the way, and you would not have been able to see that laying in the position which he was at. But what did happen, we don't know, but we do know what he described to us does not meet the facts and did not happen.
Did anyone else's story change, or do you believe it's just Tuberville who may have changed what happened?
Everyone else, and there's really not that many, everyone else, the two responding officers, they were wearing body cams, and our investigators were able to view those body cams and to get the initial statements by Sergeant Tuberville and hear their conversations and see what actions and see the site of the scene. And he then asked one of the officers to turn his blue lights back on, which they were off, and he said that he thought his leg may have accidentally hit the switch to turn the blue lights off. Well, the way he was positioned, his leg would not have been able to reach the blue lights as he stepped out of the vehicle and saw the man with a gun.
Is he accredited? Does he have an A-post certification?
It's my understanding that he does have an A-post certification, and I think he's been working with Creola for approximately a year and a half. He has some previous experience in law enforcement as a game warden, but I don't know too much more details about that.
I was going to say, do you know how long his law enforcement career dates back to?
I do not. We do not have that information. I'm told, but without definitively, that maybe it goes back 30 years, but I don't know at what point in time. I think he may have retired at some point in time, then may have got back into law enforcement, but I don't have those details. And it's really, from what we were looking at, and we've gone far enough to know that, you know, we're not going to waste any more investigative effort in this. Now, another question would be, why don't we charge him with filing a false report? Well, we just don't believe we have enough evidence to go there and prove that at this point in time, but we certainly know that it's not worthy of following, especially since he refuses to cooperate.
Didn't
so
find anything.
Just one shell casing that was recovered from the scene?
There was just one shell casing recovered from the scene, and it was from his pistol.
Is there any dash cam video from the responding officers?
No dash cam video. There are body cam videos by the two responding officers.
Is that going to be released at all this time?
You know, I think since that's really the property of Creola, I'm going to leave that up to Creola. We ourselves, well, since it's not our original records, we're going to leave that to them.
As law enforcement, you just said there was an officer involved shooting Friday where the information was released immediately to get it out to the public. You guys serve and protect for our safety. To hear that this could have been a falsified report, or to find out that, how does that make you feel?
Well, it disturbs me. Personally, it disturbs me that someone would, you know, take action like this that would bring discredit on the profession. I will tell you that there are some people involved in this profession that should not be in it. And from time to time, occurrences like this have occurred before. In my career, I can think of other instances, you know, that people that probably should not be in the business, but they want to bring attention to themselves in some manner that's illegitimate. You know, we've seen this in other occupations as well. You know, sometimes firefighters set fires and put out fires. Police officers have gun battles, and they're the only ones involved in them. So it's not new.
Has this sergeant ever been arrested, charged, or convicted of a crime? Because we didn't find anything on Alicourt.
I think there have been some charges brought against him. I do not think he has ever been convicted of any crime.
Okay. Do you know what those charges were?
I can't really speak to those, but you'd have to find them. Yes, sir.
And point out exactly where the scene of this was.
The scene is somewhere along in here. This is, I think this map may say Dead Lake Road, but it's known out there as Dead Lake Axis, Creola Axis Road or Loop. But so the vehicle was here, headed this way. The witness came in off the interstate coming this way, and bear in mind this was very early in the morning hours. The witness said he saw no vehicles coming or going as he came and pulled up on the officer, which was there without any blue lights on, but he had his headlights on and a spotlight on the side of the car. And so the witness stopped to see what was on and saw the officer laying on the ground with his knees sort of pinned up underneath his body. So, you know, the witness, well, not beyond all reasonable, it's reasonable to believe the witness would have certainly seen a vehicle that came this way and turned. And of course, the laying on the ground with the door and you only having this much visibility, you'd not be able, from the perspective of the investigators on the scene that night, said you would not be able to see any vehicle up here, whichever way it went.
So he says he was making a traffic stop. Is that correct?
Yes, that he was pulling a vehicle over for a traffic violation with no tag or
Is
a paper
there a
tag.
record of him calling it in as doing such, or have you guys looked at that?
There is a record of him calling it in, and then about a minute and 27 seconds later is when he called in with some type of needed help. And the witness on the scene at that time was listening to him call it in, and that witness said he did not see anybody coming or going.
So you think maybe that was called in after he maybe accidentally fired his own weapon, or you know what I mean?
I believe that,
tracks or something.
I believe whatever caused the window to be shot out, or the window being shot out, had just occurred, and you know, and the witness happened to point it about as soon as he was on the ground calling it in.
And if he's facing charges, Creole Police will be filing those charges, or
As far as employee or employment charges, yes.
okay.
You said you talked to the mayor and notified them, and you notified the chief. Did they seem surprised that at this conclusion?
I don't really want to characterize what they said other than what I said, that the mayor said he would not be in uniform anymore, and then I did make the offer to both the chief and the mayor that if they wanted to further their internal investigation, we'd make him available at no cost. Yes, sir.
Two things. First of all, did he give a description of the vehicle that he was supposedly stopping?
No, just a vehicle with a traffic vehicle, a signal 11 with a no tag and then paper or partial paper tag.
And also the shell casing itself, is that being looked at for anything like prints or anything in case it may have deliberately been moved from one place to another?
That's a good question, and I will follow up with that. But again, you know, we think that the evidence at this point is just overwhelming to determine that what he has advised us did not occur. Well, thank you all very much, and I hope that this will allay any fears in the community that there's someone out there still running around that might take a shot at a police officer. Thank you very much.